folks, Jungle Jim here. We're going to put an intake on. Now, I'm not going to use the rubber end seals that come with it because they seem like they always squeeze out or leak. So what I did was I took some of this 3-bond liquid gray, put about a 5/16 bead on there. Now, I just barely covered only the water outlets. Now, damn it. The reason I only did the water outlets, I had this gasket on upside down, pardon my error, but my center hole didn't line up. The reason I only do the water outlets is because most of your silicones are not going to hold up in the presence of gasoline. So if you put that stuff around here, it's going to dissolve, expand, it's going to end up in the engine. Another thing too, don't get crazy with this stuff. Just a little bit is all you need. When you tighten that down, that shit's just going to squirt out of there. So we'll take this intake here and set it on. Try to eyeball the holes as you go down, and go down slowly and smoothly. Okay, now we take our bolts, and on these Chevrolets, your center bolts are not blind holes. They're drilled all the way through the head. So when you put these on, if you don't put any sealer on the bolt threads, oil will wick up around the bolt, and you'll get oil stains on your intake and end up with a lot of residue there. So I just put a little bit of silicone. Some people want to use Loctite. I don't think I would use Loctite because it makes the bolt hard to get out. Now sometimes you want the bolt hard to get out if it's in a situation where it tries to vibrate out a lot, but they don't particularly do that on intakes. So I'm using this silicone. I also have some PTFE paste liquid it's in a bottle with a brush in the lid, so I use it on head bolts because of the Teflon. It tends to lubricate the bolt threads and it seals well. Incidentally, on these engines, as well as big block Chevrolets, the head bolt holes also are not blind. If you do not seal the shank of the head bolt when you screw it in, water will come up through there. You'll start getting stains down the side of your engine block and your short bolts, and worse, water comes up these bolts under the valve cover, then you got coolant in your oil. So just remember that. Make sure you know what you're working with. Your Fords, I can't think of a single Ford that does not have blind head bolt holes. So all you then do on those is put a little lubricant on the bolt thread so they'll torque properly. I like to use studs instead of bolts because then all your torquing's done at the end, you know, at the end of the stud instead of down in the block. But can't really do that, the motor in the car, unless you put the studs through the head, or put the studs through the head, because if you stud the block, you usually don't have room to slide the head on. There's going to be too much crap in the way, where you can just build the motor and drop it in. That's the way this one is. It's got ARP head studs in it, but it's built so you can just drop it in. You have to try to do it in frame. Okay, what we're going to do here, for some reason this bolt didn't want to screw in with my fingers. It's not giving me a lot of resistance with the wrench, but we're going to put these 4 center bolts in with the sealer. And tighten them up and kind of establish where the intake's going to sit. I like to look through all the holes and make sure that the gasket hasn't moved around before I tighten anything down. Normally it's a good idea to not tighten it until you put all the bolts in. Yeah, this one's moved just a tiny bit. Bolts will kind of keep your gasket in place while you do this. If you're ever putting a torque converter in, if it's the type of torque converter that has threaded bosses, and you get your transmission up, you're under the car. Most of us, who don't have a lift, like I don't, are laying on the ground under the car wishing we had a lift. And you'll get so, excited, I guess. You get one bolt in, and you got to turn the damn motor over to reach the other two. So you put the first one in, you tighten it. Turn the motor a third of a turn or a fourth, whichever. You got 3 or 4 lug converter. And the fucking bolt won't go through the flex plate because you tightened the first one and the other ones ain't lined up. So you gotta turn the motor all the way over, put all 3 bolts in, and then turn it over again to tighten them. So it's a lot more fun to put all the bolts in and then turn it again and tighten it than it is to put one in, turn it, find out you can't get the second one, and have to back it up and loosen the first one. And then you feel like a dipstick. Okay. So we're going to get all these bolts in. I'm probably going to edit this video so that it doesn't run too long. Like, why am I watching this dickhead put bolts in? Anyone can do that. So yeah, but is everyone doing it right? I've been doing this for nearly 50 years. You say, well, I think you're full of crap because you don't look 80 years old. Well, folks, I started building engines when I was 10. And I'll be 60 this year, so that's almost 50 years. And I've learned a lot of things the hard way. That's why I'm offering this video. One reason. Another reason is I don't think internal combustion engines are going to be long for this society. But there'll always be curiosities afterwards when people stop using them. And there'll be museums and there'll be people who need to care for these museum pieces and stuff. And this mechanic scenario is a dying art. And I'd like to see more young people interested in it to carry it on. And I think it's fascinating. Building engines, to me, never gets old. Unless you're doing it for somebody that has unrealistic expectations. Well, why didn't my $130 re-ring job produce 500 horsepower? You're supposed to be some kind of engine builder. Well, let me tell you folks, you can't make chicken salad out of chicken shit. So, there you go. Okay, I've got the 4 center bolts just firm. And you probably can't see from the video, but my bead of silicone is just beginning to bulge out at the ends, which tells me there's enough in there. And you don't want it to squirt out like bug guts. You just want it to squat a little bit as it compresses, and then it'll dry there. And the silicone will be a very good seal, much better than that compression rubber they put in these kits. And I believe that's all you need to see about this. And Maybe I'll do a video about sticking the distributor in here in just a few minutes, but that will be a separate video. Thanks for watching.